Hello, good morning, and welcome to Morning Brew on Politics Social. I'm Graham Hughes. It is Monday, the 24th of June 2024, and we have got just 10 days to go until the election. This is it, people. We're on the home straight now. I just think, within less than a week and a half, the Tories are not going to be the party of government anymore. They might not even be the party of opposition. I don't want to get high on the copium, but it feels like there is a bright light at the end of this very, very long, dark tunnel that we have been trudging through in the dark for the last 14 years. And finally, there's the light there. And the part of it feels a little bit unreal. But I have to say, the joy of this election campaign being like the end of the Tory party, fingers crossed, has been tempered somewhat by the nasty, horrible, bollock-faced foghorn of ignorance, Nigel Farage, coming back from the depths from whence he came, and basically being horrible, which is what he does. Johan, thank you very much in the chat there, says, congratulations, Graham, you made it. The Map Men dropped you and referenced your travel achievement in their latest video. I know, it was absolutely brilliant. So I found out about this last week. A mate of mine is a patron of Jay Foreman's, and they sent me the clip off the patrons. I don't share this because obviously it's just for patrons only. And it's fabulous. They actually dress up as me and my mum. In a devastatingly accurate recreation of what it was like when I told my mum I was going to be away for 4 years. I'm at my mum's at the moment. I might actually recreate the scene again. I'll recreate the recreation, shall I? Before I leave today. Fuck Up Uni, Farage is cut from the same cloth as Oswald Mosley. Yes. John Tyndale and Nick Griffin. He is merely a somewhat better actor who can disguise his racism that bit better. Think about Oswald Mosley and also Nick Griffin as well. Part of the aristocracy. The part or neo-aristocracy and the part of Nick Griffin. I think he's on my private school mafia list. It comes as no surprise. I mean, there's one of the private school mafia people called Zoe Shrimple, I think her name is. I think she writes for The Telegraph. She's completely unhinged. And apparently, nowhere is safe from rampaging gangs of teenage youths in some kind of like bleak, clockwork orange vision of the future, which is now the present. Not even Waitrose is safe. That's what she wrote. Not even Waitrose is safe from these riffraff. This is a woman who went to Beadles, or Bedales, which is like the female Eton or something like that. It's a private school. It's very expensive. I think. Who's that annoying woman who sings? Lily Allen. I think she went there. Right. 10 days left. Yes, says Anukska. We've got Rufus. How much damage can they do to themselves in the next 10 days? Can't wait to see what they do next. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I just want to say a big shout out to everyone in the chat. There's so many people in the chat, like people chatting before we come on, which is fun. Hello from Portsmouth, from Jan Wallace. Hell is a place on earth, says Duke Vengeance, thank you. Ned is in there as well. We've got Opoi, we've got Gallifreyan Wren in there, Joe Lefty as well. We've got Brian, we've got David, we've got Reagan Elite. Hi Reagan, how you doing? Got City Life 2050. We've got Elizabeth Bratchett in there. We've got Michael Warner, Paul Ewan. We've also got Sean and 31 Blaze. And One Angry Pagan, who's been a member now for 13 months. Awesome. Unlike the Brexit years, Farage gets laughed at more. Well, I don't know. This is the thing. I kind of, I just want to enjoy this election. I just want to enjoy the Tories tear themselves apart and tear on each other. This election betting scandal is just going to run and run. It's been 12 days now, I think, since it started, or 13 days, something like that. And it shows no sign of slowing down. There's like 5 people so far who are like under investigation. And it's just getting worse for them. And it's just wonderful. I just want to enjoy that. I want to enjoy people shouting, shame, shame, shame at Rishi Sunak when he's on Leader's Special Question Time. I mean, there's just so much stuff here that we should just be taking just nothing but pleasure in. You know, Schadenfreude, obviously. But yeah, we should be having a really good time. But unfortunately, because of Farage, because he's there on the sidelines, and you just know he wants to come back, don't you? And as the leader of the Conservative Party, and this is something that I think he's plotting probably quite openly with the likes of Suella Braverman and Priti Patel, who he was filmed dancing with at the last Conservative conference. I mean, it doesn't get much more vile than that. But he has done some really awful things in the past, and let's talk about them today. So let's mention his undying support for Putin, his accusation that Ukraine provoked Russia into invading Crimea. This is what he said in 2014, and just in general being invaded. He mentioned that last week in his interview with Nick Robinson on the BBC, and he stands by his words, apparently. He stands by the fact that he is completely vile, and he thinks that it's okay for a sovereign state to invade another sovereign state. No questions asked, except, maybe why did the sovereign state ask to be invaded? It's a bit like when a kid is fighting with their older brother, and their older brother grabs their hand and says, makes them hit themselves. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Anyone with older brothers will know exactly what I'm talking about there. It's exactly the same. But it's not just that. I mean, let's look at the Brexit vote, right? Remember that famous picture of him looking at the value of the pound going down with like his thumbs up? Do you remember that picture? He's pointing at that, because his hedge fund mates made loads of money out of it. His shorting the pound mates made loads of money out of it. O'Day, what's his name? That Crispin O'Day creep. Odious O'Day. He made an absolute metric F ton of money out of basically, Farage's Brexit dreams coming true. And the really, really stupidly hard Brexit that we had is a result of Farage. And one thing that I'd like people to look at more and know about is that I think quite a few people know that Farage was in a plane crash around 2011. It was a light plane. It had a UKIP banner at the back of it saying "Vote UKIP" or whatever, and the banner got wrapped around the tail fin, and it crashed into a field. And Farage and the pilot, they survived, which is, I suppose, a miracle. I guess not all miracles are amazing, but anyway, Farage survived. A bit of a sliding doors moment, I think, for our nation. But the pilot of the plane never really got over it, and we don't know exactly what went on between him and Farage afterwards, but we do know, and trigger warning here, we do know that the pilot took his own life 2 years later. And we know for a fact that that incident with Farage and his subsequent dealings with Farage played heavily on his mind up to that point. That's the kind of man that Farage is. If I'd been in a plane crash and I'd survived, I would be like so grateful. I wouldn't be angry at the pilot for crashing the plane. I'd be happy that we survived the crash. But his grotesque neo-aristocratic entitlement means that that's not enough. It's never enough, because he's one of those people, isn't he? He's one of those people where nothing is ever enough. I want to leave the EU. Okay, we leave the EU. It's not enough. You didn't do it right. You should have done it like me. I want to withdraw from the European Court of Human Rights as well. Why? I don't know, because I'm rich and I can afford private security, private healthcare, and I can have my own reservoir if I want to for all the water I can drink that won't have poo in it. Yes. And if you talk to anyone who is saying, "Oh, I think I'm voting reform," I want you to ask them straight up, why do you want us to be more like Russia? That's the question. That's the question right there. Why do you want us to be more like Russia? Why do you want us to have nothing to do with the EU, be positively hostile towards the EU, positively hostile towards the European Court of Human Rights, which was set up pretty much by not solely by Winston Churchill, but it was his, it was his, like, what I think one of his proudest things that he did in his life was setting up the European Court of Human Rights and the European Convention of Human Rights, and Farage wants to take that away because he wants to make us more like Russia, in the same way that Trump in America wants to make America more like Russia. They want to clamp down. They start on people who are transgender, obviously, and then they move on to people who are gay, obviously, and then they move on to people who are drag queens, who might even be gay, but how dare they dress as women for a laugh. And then they move on to women. Take away their right to self-autonomy. Their bodily functions are no longer theirs. They're owned by the state. They're owned by a bunch of gruesome old clerics, gruesome old virgins who live in the Vatican or wherever, who dictate to them what they're allowed to do with their own bodies. It's a slippery slope. And then this Project 2025 in America, they want to ban pornography. So good luck with that, America. But it's going to, if Trump gets in, America's going to turn very Gilead very, very fast. And I think a lot of Trump voters are going to be quite shocked at just how bad it gets. But there'll be a lot of male Trump voters, male, white, thick as pig shit Trump voters who are going to be cock-a-hoop about the fact that, Trump is basically riding roughshod over all of the hard-fought civil liberties that America has pushed for generations. Just wind that all back, dig out an old law in, where was it, Arizona? They dug out a law from like the 1850s, was it the Cornstalk Act, to stop women having abortions. This is happening in America. I think in Ohio they want to check children's genitals before they let them play sports. I mean, who wants that job? Can you have a guess who would want a job like that? Yeah, people who should be in jail, quite frankly. Some people who should not be allowed within a mile of a child. But yeah, this is all happening, and Farage is a huge part of it. Farage, the Farage campaign, Leave.eu, it was a petri dish. It was called a petri dish for for what happened with Trump, and it was just what we're seeing now with Farage using bots again. Please, I implore you, if you have... thank you very much to Ivan Ambrose, by the way, just for that £2 super chat. And then we'll move on to disabled people. Absolutely. Well, they already have, mate. They already have. We've seen that. Can this super chat thing go away? Oh, I moved myself. I tried to move the super chat and I started floating around like Wordy, or what his name was from Speak and Spell. Look and Learn, whatever it was called. The super chat lingered for a long time. If you would be so kind as to head over to endthetories.com. Well, that came up too quick. So, problems with my animations this morning. So this is my traveling studio. My travel studio. But we need to have a real think about how we allow misinformation and disinformation to spread on the internet pretty much unchecked. And it's encouraged by the likes of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. Don't forget the whole Cambridge Analytica scandal. Farage and his Vote Leave.eu comrades. Like Aaron Banks gave $7 million to the campaign. It's never been established where that money came from. We don't know where that money came from. It could have come from Russia. We don't know. Farage has been a supporter of Russia all the way through this. He's had various meetings with the Russian ambassador at the embassy. He was photographed there. He said he hadn't met with the ambassador, and then photographs came out of him, numerous meetings with the Russian ambassador. And I just think all over the guy is an absolute nightmare. But it doesn't seem to be affecting his popularity in the same way that Trump has this Teflon coating where you can say he's a traitor. He stands against everything that America... Oh, are you a Christian as well? Everything that Christianity stands for, he is the opposite of that. It doesn't cut through. It just absolutely doesn't cut through to these voters. They're just like, no, I think they're great. I think they're wonderful. And I keep getting it in the neck for saying that Trump's going to win this election because people are like, no, he's not going to win. And I just want everyone to just take a step back and just look at the polls and stop going, oh, no, you can't trust the polls. You can in this situation because, and I'll tell you why, there are no shy Trump voters. Okay, there might have been in 2016. Sorry, Trump voters. There are no shy Biden voters. If you're going to vote for Biden, you're going to say that you're going to vote for Biden. And now, I don't think there's many shy Trump voters either, to be honest with you. And the poll after poll, go and look on 538.com. And I know I'm going to wind up Christine Cash talking about this, But just go and have a look. Oh, it's not .com anymore. It's moved to bloody ABC or something. Anyway, look at 538 site. They've got all of the polls, how good they are as polls. They've got a grade rating. You get up to A+ if it's a really good, well-conducted poll. It goes right down to D if it's like Fox News or something. And every single poll, time and time again, has them either neck and neck or Trump ahead. And more importantly, Trump ahead in the battleground states, 6 of which, basically, if you win those 6, you will win the election. This is mortifying after what Trump has done to America and what he's done in his personal life, the amount of crimes he's committed. He got 5 people, including 2 coppers, killed through his riot that he incited at the Capitol, and yet he is still ahead of the incumbent president in America in the polls. And I don't think there are people who are like, you know, I'm going to be quiet about who I'm going to vote for. I'm not quite decided yet. I mean, there's probably a handful of them, but not enough. Not enough. Don't forget, Biden only took Georgia by, what was it, 11,780 votes, was it? What was the famous number? Was that the famous number that Trump just needed? I mean, 11,000 votes in a country with a population of 330 million. That's what it comes down to, and it's very, very worrying. My hope is that Farage will not be elected in Clarkson, and he'll just go over to America and be ignored by Trump's lot as some kind of half-assed warm-up act for Trump on his rallies, in which Trump just rambles on a bunch of nonsense about sharks and being electrocuted, and his fan base do not care. They just do not care. They just applaud him harder. It is very painful to watch. Johnny Copperhead, thank you very much for the super chat. A petri dish, as Marjorie Taylor Greene says. I think I say petri dish. Do I say petri or petri? I can't. I don't know. Do I care? Do I care? I don't know. George, thank you very much for the super chat there, mate. I agree. I also need to move my... Oh my God, I've just frozen. I've just absolutely frozen. Oh my... This isn't supposed to happen. Sorry about that. I made the super chat animation come up and I froze. That was awful. Sorry about that. I think my computer's overheating or something. I don't know. What's the problem, computer? Come on. One Angry Pagan, thank you very much for the super chat, mate. At some point, it's possible we pagans will be seen as dangerous devil worshippers again. We know where that leads. All minorities are in danger at the moment. Yeah, absolutely. And what about devil worshippers as well? They'll be affected by this. And I'm Brad W. Thank you very much. Farage is the political equivalent of herpes, disgusting, and keeps coming back. And I did the wrong animation. It's Monday morning, isn't it? You can tell. Thanks very much, Brad. That's very kind of you. Should we nip over to the papers? So you have a better look at the papers, because there's some desperate copium going on in the papers here, and it's a joy to see, really. Here we have Rishi. Starmer will unpick Brexit and rejoin EU by backdoor. Oh no! What a disaster. So I am jiggling this about a bit. I'm trying to get the page on a bit better. But, like, seriously. Starmer will unpick Brexit and rejoin EU by backdoor, says the Daily Express. Oh, no, whatever we do. Tories, this is better headline, even better headline in the Independent. Tories turn on PM over failure to get a grip on betting scandal. Obviously, they couldn't fit the word betting in there. Bet scandal. So I didn't make this joke, but there is a good joke of who would have thought the hill that the Tories choose to die on would be William Hill. That was very good. Gillian Hope, thank you very much. The countdown begins. Indeed it does, Gillian. Thank you very much for the super chat. Furious that Betgate is being compared to Partygate. Don't let Farage ruin your day. No, I will endeavour not to do that. And thank you very much for the super chat, which I'll position there so it's not in the way of everything. Right. Great work, Graham David, international teacher in Sabah, Borneo. Cool, mate. I've been to Sabah and Sarawak and Brunei and Kalimantan. Great days. Kuching, very cool. Anyway, moving on. Shirty Harry, this is a story in the Star about someone. And then frozen out by Sunak for telling the truth. and the Iceland boss has reveals PM blasted him for highlighting horrific food bank crisis. Don't mention the food banks. Oh my God. Budget since, I think, 1986. Oh, shit. I just had a disconnection pop up. Sorry if I just popped up then. Sorry if I just broke up then. Getting me pop-ups and me breakups mixed up. That's awful. I was reading Ivan's super chat, so if I missed it because I lost connection, here we go again. Not only did Farage and his mates take advantage of the pound falling as a result of Brexit, he and his mates would have done the same with Truss's mini budget. Farage said he supports everything in the mini budget. Yeah, he said it was the best budget since 1986. That's what he said. Because he's a rat man. The posh, privately educated rat man. Labour plan for changing gender with less evidence. Great news in the Times. This is not even new news because this is in the manifesto, meaning that you will be able to undergo, the process of changing your gender a lot more easily than you can at the moment, because it should just be between you, your family, maybe your partner, and your doctor. That's who it should be about. That's it. The only people who need to be involved. People who don't need to be involved. The government, the state, judges. Do you know what I mean? Juries. People who read the mail. Anyway, Sunak urged to drop candidates as betting investigation widens. This is a beautiful thing. Senior Tories join calls for action against those under investigation. Rishi Sunak is facing growing clamour to come clean about the betting scandal engulfing Westminster as a fifth figure was drawn into the row. Moving on, we've got the Tories question Sunak's leadership as he resists calls to suspend betting scandal suspects. This is in the Eye. And then this wonderful, wonderful story in the Daily Mail. 10 days left to stop disaster of a Starmer supermajority. Starmageddon. Right. Once more for the people at the back. In UK politics, there is no such thing as a supermajority. We don't have a written constitution. We do not have a codified constitution. You can change our unwritten, uncodified constitution with a majority of one. So it doesn't matter if you have one more MP than all the other parties put together, or 100 MPs more than all the other parties put together, or 600 more MPs than all the other parties put together. It literally doesn't matter. You still have the same amount of power to change things in this country. Almost what some might regard as an elected dictatorship. There's a famous quote, I think it was Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the famous French Enlightenment philosopher, who said that the British people think that they are free. They are not free. They are only free on the days when they are allowed to vote and they have an election. And the rest of the time, they are enslaved. And you know, he was writing that in the 1700s, and I don't know if much has changed, but this fear of the Starmer supermajority is my favourite new thing. It's just, it's brilliant. And just shows how much the Tories and their client press are absolutely freaking out right now. I just realised I'm sort of hovering an inch above the bottom of the screen. That's not cool. What's his name? Darth Maul. Give me some robot legs. One Angry Pagan, thank you. Hey, don't be mean to rats, says One Angry Pagan. Yeah, okay. Was I mean to rats? I'm sorry. But, yeah. I'm an educated neurodivergent pagan, the right's worst nightmare, says Jamie. Viv says he's already working on it, but has to get elected first. It's his one main job. That's a response to Nick. Yeah, Starmer needs to get elected. Labour needs to be elected. And we've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. The fact that he has turned the Labour Party from what it was in 2019, absolutely unelectable, looking at 10, 15 years in opposition in the wilderness, and he's managed to turn it around so fast. And it's not just that the Conservative Party has fallen apart. It's not just the Trust mini budget and Partygate and all the scandal after scandal after scandal. It's not just that. Because don't forget, in the summer of 2019, the Tory party polled 8% in the EU elections, right? 8% they got. That's just absolutely devastating. I mean, they didn't care. They said, well, we weren't supposed to be having that election anyway, etc. But they did read the writing on the wall, and they got rid of their desperately unpopular leader, Liz Truss, and placed her with Boris Johnson, who I hate with every fibre of my being. But he appeals to a certain type of jingoistic, gammon-faced, Brexit, tub-thumping nativist. And there are a lot of them in this country. That's something we have to accept. And we have to also accept that if we're going to ever get back to the EU, as David Lammy pointed out over the weekend, we need to get the Conservatives on side. Once it's a done deal that we want to get back into the EU, it will have to be, let's use the word, a supermajority asking for it. But they changed their leader. And even though he illegally prorogued Parliament that summer, he promised he'll be dead in a ditch if we didn't leave by the end of October. And we didn't leave by the end of October. And he wasn't dead in a ditch, even though he hid in a fridge during the election campaign. It was a dire election campaign, just like the Liz Truss. Not the Truss, what's her name? The one, Theresa May. Just like Theresa May's election, it was just awful in 2017, and yet the Tories still won both elections. I mean, Theresa May lost her majority, but she still won. Had to go in with the DUP, but they still won because they anyway. Maggie Pie, thank you very much for the 50 Swedish krona. Thank you. Farage used to bully a Jewish classmate when he was a kid. Hitler was right. He never apologised for it, just called it stupid and childish. I hate him. I can't wait till the day he's no longer with us. I'm going to have a party. Do you want to come to my party? Anyway, Paul Ewan there, Inside the Mail. This is another super chat. Thank you. Thank you for the super chats this morning. Everyone's been very kind. Inside the Mail, they apparently favour tactical voting to prevent a Starmer supermajority. I'm assuming that's aimed at bringing Reform voters back. Anyway, well, let's get the papers over with, and I'm going to have to wrap up. I have a train to catch. Labour to rip up school trans ban. Sex and gender guidance set by Tories will be put under review. Oh no. And then there's who's this? Cara de Valagine, another part of the private school mafia. Literally every word that you're reading on these papers and every picture of people on these papers, pretty much all of them went to private school unless they're a footballer. Anyway, Conservatives lose a third of their voters since January, survey reveals. That's in the Financial Times there. And what a lovely story. Turning up the heat, and this is about, we're going to have a heat wave this week, which could easily turn deadly. So make sure that you stay hydrated. Drink a lot of water. He says drinking tea, but maybe I should drink water instead. Nice one. Right. All these trans Labour stories that sound good, but Starmer keeps putting his foot in his mouth every time he talks about it. Hard to put my faith in. I think he was good on it on Question Time on Thursday. But yeah, I just think he just doesn't want to talk about it because he knows it costs votes, because there are people out there who genuinely believe that trans people shouldn't be with us. Like, they hate them that much. They hate them like the Nazis hated Jews. They have the same attitude towards them, and they have the same. Look, I've spoken to enough of them. I've spoken to enough of these. They call themselves TERFs, don't they? But there's nothing feminist about them. Let's just call them what they are: bog trolls. I've spoken to bog trolls, and I've asked them what's the end game here. You know, it's not. This goes beyond like where the trans people are supposed to go to the toilet. Like, beyond that, like, what do you want? And it always comes down to the same thing. They don't want trans people to be a thing, because it upsets, I don't know, their sense of identity, their ego, offends their ego. I don't know what it is that drives these people, except hatred. But when you have the richest author in the world going nuts every day on Twitter, when she could just be having a nice life with her family and friends and having a party, it breaks my heart. It really does. Anushka, thank you very much for the super chat. Woo! Yes, Graham, I will be at your streamed party. Oh, fab. Hey, listen, I will be talking about the party a little bit more. We've had some very, very generous people give money in the chat, so I actually have a handful of tickets now, which I'm going to give out free to anyone who wants them. Yeah, I'll give more details about that when I'm back in Durham. I'm still in Liverpool at the moment. George, thank you very much. Funny, I knew the Tories would be so hypocritical. Indeed. Well, you know what to expect, don't you? And thank you very much for the super chat. Ivan, I had to block 2 more people yesterday because they were promoting Jeremy Clarkson and the latest stuff he's saying. Thank you very much, Ivan. Jeremy Clarkson. He's one of those wrong uns. He's a bit like Piers Morgan. He sometimes a stopped clock is right twice a day. So the stuff that Clarkson's done over his farm, I think, is actually really good and positive because it's shown how difficult it is to run a farm in today's environment. And he is quite anti-Brexit, which is a good thing because the gammon all love him. He's like their gammon god. I honestly think, and I wrote to Jeremy Clarkson, or at least his agent, back when we were fighting Brexit, saying, please, will you come on stage and say that Brexit is a stupid idea for dickheads? But he didn't. They didn't respond. But I think that if he had come out straight away and said this is so stupid, done a little, Top Gear sketch about how stupid doing this would be, I think it could have been pivotal in changing people's minds because the gams look up to Jeremy Clarkson. So he's a vile man. He's a vile man. He punched his producer, private school mafia, of course. He's a braying arsehole and quite frequently racist, and thinks it's really funny to be racist. I think it's a private school mafia thing. Anyway, I've got to move on. Johnny Copperhead, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. That is very, very kind of you. Judge Starmer by what he does, not by what he says, whilst tiptoeing around the Tory press. That's a good way of putting it, Johnny. I agree. Thank you very much for the super chat. Veg Pie, I bought a ticket to the gig. Thank you very much to the party. This is the election night party, July the 4th in London. At a secret location, but like we're probably going to run out of tickets soon. I can see it. It's probably already sold out, but I've got a handful of tickets. So if you can't get a ticket, just get in touch with me and I'll sort you out. So a couple of things before I go. First of all, as I mentioned before, I'm promoting endthetories.com. Which is well worth going to and checking it out if you can support us in any way. We're essentially creating an autonomous, I'm not allowed to say bot farm, an autonomous system for posting true content, like content that is true. Let's put it that way. But also, obviously, it is going to be memes and videos and content that us lot, our gang of left-wing political commentators, etc., put online, and make sure that gets out the echo chamber. Because at the moment, your For You feed or your recommended feed or whatever it's called on different apps, different platforms, makes you live in a bubble where you only see the stuff that you kind of want to see. If you're on the right. If you're on the left, however, you get to see J.K. Rowling's inane ramblings every day. You get to see the front cover of the Mail every day because your bubble isn't much of a bubble. Your echo chamber isn't very echoey. It allows a lot of noise in from outside your own sphere of belief. And we need to make sure that happens to people who are on the right. It doesn't at the moment because of the way the algorithms work, etc., and the fact that the other side have got a bunch of bot farms and we don't really have anything in response to that. The last thing I want to just mention, I've had a few people get in touch with me about flyering in Rishi Sunak's constituency on Thursday. We're going to be in Northallerton. There is a train station on the East Coast Main Line in Northallerton. We'll be meeting near the train station on Thursday and we'll be going out flyering. If you do want to come along, there's a pint in it for you if you do, or a glass of wine, or a glass of Coke, whatever you want. If you get in touch either via the Discord server, if you're a member of this channel, or if you head over to grahamdavidhughes.com and get to the bottom of the page, and there is a contact thing there. If you write to me there, I'll send you the details and let you know how and what we're doing and what we're planning. So please come along. We've got about 5 people now, I think. If we could get 10 people giving out these flyers, we give out say like 200 each. That's 2,000 flyers. That's 2,000 homes, and you know that'll be epic. And it's going to be a nice day on Thursday, I'm sure. I hope. Anyway, right, I'm off. I wonder how Jez's farm is doing. Does he need more publicity? I don't know. I lived near Clarkson for a while. He used my supermarket. He's a bully. I watched him scream at some poor shelf filler. Do you know what, Captain Bart Roberts? That doesn't surprise me. He is a bully. He's not a very nice man. He is not a very nice man. Anyway, Orion Does Things, last super chat of the show. Thank you very much for the £10 super chat there, mate. Been spreading the word of both Stop the Tories and then the Tories on Tumblr of all places. Seems to be cutting through there. That's something. That's fantastic. Thank you very much there for Orion Does Things. Yeah, we're going to try and get a few more political commentators on board for End the Tories. We're going to try and change. We're going to change the name to StopTheBots.uk after the election. Obviously, this was a bit of a last minute thing because we're like, damn, there's no response to this. The Tories weren't using bots, but Reform definitely are using bots, and they were using bots back in 2016. But now we've got AI, so people are having conversations with users of a particular platform, and they think they're talking to someone, and they're not. They're talking to AI, which is programmed to say, "Hey, have you thought about voting for Reform? They'll save whatever it is that you care about: the polar bears, your cup of tea, your I don't know. The Village Green Preservation Society. Right, I've got to get going. So thank you so much to everyone for joining us this morning. Everyone in the chat there, you're all wonderful. You wonderful socialites. And thank you so much for the super chats. Give us a like on the way out. And I'll just say Phil will be back in the morning at 9:30 for Morning Brew. And yeah, I'll be in the chat. So I will see you then. Until then, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye. That didn't work.